Hi, and welcome to Positive Parenting. My name is Irene Etia. I'm a Christian counsellor, and today we're going to talk about some parent traps that parents fall into when it comes to disciplining their child. We spoke about conception of intention in one of our previous episodes, but I just want to do a quick recap of what that is, because it is very much related to parent traps. Parent traps are things that are thought patterns that we start to get into when we see misbehavior or mistaken behavior from our children. And conception of intention is very much related to this, because conception of intention is about my thoughts about another person's intentions. So if my thoughts about my child's intentions in misbehaving are negative, then I'm going to react in a negative way, and I'm going to feel negatively towards my child, and that's going to affect how I discipline them. And usually there are 5 common traps that parents fall into when they start to think about reasons that their child is misbehaving. The first one is a blowing your stack trap, where this becomes something completely out of proportion and much bigger than the actual situation. It turns into an unnecessary power struggle between you and your child. It involves reacting to misbehavior in exaggerated ways, in criticisms and yelling and threats. And the parent's anger is the drive behind the reason that they're punishing their child. Because usually this is a punishment, it's not discipline. The reason that I'm treating my child this way is because I'm angered by the behavior. The thing is, the blow your stack trap has a history. It usually comes from misbehaviors that I exhibited as a child that other people around me were uncomfortable with, or emotions that I displayed as a child that my family was uncomfortable with. So for example, if I grew up in a home environment where I was not allowed to laugh out loud, where I wasn't allowed to make noise, where I wasn't allowed to be verbal or vocal about my feelings or my emotions, then my child giggling loudly might be something that provokes this parent trap, might trigger something inside of me that feels anger and frustration towards my child, where in reality, the actual behavior may not even be mistaken in the first place. So it's really important that as a parent, I do some reflection and I start to work out, as a child, what was okay for me to be, what kind of behaviors were okay for me to display, what kind of emotions were accepted by people around me. Because it's more than likely that it's those very same expressions of emotions that I see from my children that provoke this anger in me. And like I say, sometimes it's not even mistaken behavior. The next trap I want to talk to you about is that you're doing it on purpose trap. The thought process where I start to believe that my child is making the mistake deliberately and defiantly just to annoy and to disobey me as a parent. And that is also a dangerous thought process. When I start to think that my child is against me, it starts to become a fight rather than a peaceful and loving interaction. I start to think that it's me versus him and him versus I. And that's a dangerous thought process for a parent to fall into, because as long as I start to think that way, I'm again not going to be able to discipline my child or teach my child. I'm going to be in a position where I'm punishing my child and trying to put him or her back in their place. And that's not going to build their self-esteem or their self-confidence. Whereas reality may be, some of the behaviors that they may be exhibiting may not be to annoy or to disobey me. They're probably to get my attention and to make sure that I'm there for them and to be noticed and to be heard. The next trap is the "you made me do it" trap, blaming the child for my own misbehaviors. So blaming my child for my loss of control. Going back to the child and saying, well, I hit you because you made me hit you. I yelled at you because you made me yell. I used an angry, scary voice because you made me angry. And suddenly, the child is responsible for my behaviors and my thoughts and my actions. Isn't it meant to be the other way around? If I start to think that way and I start to deal with my child that way, it doesn't allow them the freedom to express themselves and to experiment and to try to express their views, because they'll always feel like whatever that they're doing is going to impact on me. And like I say, it should really be the other way around. The next trap that a lot of parents fall into is the thought pattern of, he'll never change, she'll never change. They've inherited these sorts of behaviors from the other parent or their grandparents or their uncle or their aunt. This is just the way that they are, and they're never going to change. Thinking that way about my child limits his ability to grow and flourish as an individual. It doesn't allow him to reach his potential because I'm always limiting him in what I believe he can or can't do. Allowing my child to know that they are their own person and that they will grow and they will flourish is the complete opposite from that, because people do change and people do improve if they give them the chance to. And finally, the "it's not my fault" trap. This involves parents not taking responsibility for their own actions and blaming everything that happens in their life on someone else. And this is a thought pattern that children quickly inherit, and they learn very quickly to blame others for their mistaken behavior. So be very careful of parent traps, because they impact the way that you deal with your child, and they also impact the way you feel towards your child and the way you discipline your child. The more we are not in those parent traps or aware of them, the less likely we're going to react in negative, harmful ways towards our children. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next time on Positive Parenting.